Middle-earth: Shadow of War is a 2017 action-adventure video game developed by Monolith Productions and published by Big Daddy Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment. But I just picked this up in 2024 off a Steam sale for less than $10. I played the prequel back in 2014, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, both of which are based on J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings lore and set in between the events of The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. The player continues the story of Talion, the Gondorian ranger, who bonded with the wraith of the elf lord Celebrimbor as they forge a new ring of power to amass an army to fight against Sauron. Review-wise, Shadow of War still trails the prequel on overall score. Main reasons could be tied to the grind and company loot box greed practices that were rolled out on initial release. Upon launching the game, I noticed they have a hardcore mode, so I was like, what better way to cut your teeth, right, than learning on hardcore? To summarize this mode, it's kind of like a dungeon crawler, right? There's variety each run through the Nemesis system, which in itself is a crazy concept, and one of the reasons that I decided to give this game a go, because I don't think there's been really anything quite like it since it released. The second thing is you only get one life, so if you die, you gotta restart the whole run. But you can earn potions through killing enemies, and there are some skills that persist throughout the runs. I think they're like dwarven quests, so you want to prioritize those, right? And then the final thing is it's point based, right, on how long it takes you to do it and the difficulty that you're doing it on. So all those things make it seem kind of like a dungeon crawler. Pretty fun. Figured it's a quick, light way to learn the game. And I've been having the combat in the background. It's action adventure, as I mentioned earlier, like Batman Arkham. Moving on to key features. One of the big ones here, and it's related to the Nemesis system, is identifying weaknesses for orcs. See, this guy is mortally vulnerable to stealth. So I'm going to make my way around here and try and take advantage of that. Sneaking into position, I line myself up, and strike to brutal efficiency. But not long after, my inexperience gets the best of me, and I miss one of the triggers leading to my death. I didn't even get to recruit anybody. Second run, feeling pretty good, killing some bees, getting jumped again. Okay, I'm ready to smash this bee, keep smashing bee, and a Y trigger. Are you kidding me? Gets me again. But this is a good segue into the orc personalities.
The filthy red blood from my beautiful black blade.
And there are many of them.
Circus, but none last long. Death by blade, or fang, or bomb.
I was really expecting Song there. Was really expecting Song. It's not just random encounter personalities. Some of these guys are just stubborn and don't want to die.
Was that fun for you? It was fun.
These guys could come back after getting defeated over and over again, evolving depending on how they were defeated, so that's always a stronger foe on your next meeting.
Never-ending pain. Now, the only relief I get is inflicting pain on others. Let me demonstrate.
These guys can even evolve mid-fight. Here you'll see me doing minimal damage, so I figured I can whittle him down with fire guillotine, and he immediately becomes fireproof. Alright, guess I'll just have to figure something else out. This pull seems to be working, so I'll keep doing that pull, hopping over his head, and pulling again, getting him down and getting that damage until I can finally whittle him down. But it doesn't take long. Look at that, adapted. Guess I can't jump over him anymore. I have no idea how I'm gonna kill this guy now. Continuing to cheese him as best as I can. It's not long until, lo and behold, another adaptation. This time to how I've been damaging him. My ground damage. I'm left with almost no way that I can damage this orc at this time. Talk about resiliency. 3 times in one battle that this guy adapted to my fighting style so that I couldn't cheese him. That's after he was already defeated 2 times prior. This is what makes the Nemesis system truly something special. And I see what everybody's talking about, and it's unfortunate that Warner Brothers has this patented and hasn't touched it in 7 years. It is absolutely baffling, because even for this older game, this is a really fun system that just creates these narratives and really makes you get connected to the orcs that you're fighting. I will never forget Muzu at this point, Iron Skull, Survivor, whatever you want to call him. And it keeps you having to be versatile in your gameplay. You know, you gotta use bows, you gotta use dashes and bashes so that you can come out on top. Alright, we've talked a little bit about the combat. We talked about the Nemesis system. Got a couple L's under my belt. Now I've grabbed a couple outposts, and I have a few skill points. So I think now would be a good time to just review what else there is in advancement when it comes to this game. So, checking out our character tree. These skills right up top, the Torvin skills, these are the dwarf skills I mentioned earlier, which involves finding these artifacts, taking them back to Torvin, and he permanently unlocks these skills for any subsequent playthroughs, even when you die. Circa, who's the main character in these modes, also gains run-specific skills that he can unlock on his personal character. And what I mean by that is that when you die, you lose these, and they do seem subtle at first, but they do start adding up. Capacity is another one, which just allows you to get additional defenders with you, right, that you could summon. But I really like some of these Circa specific ones, so I prioritize those immediately after the Torvin ones. But there is a caveat to this, right? And that's in harder game modes when you're really trying to min-max. Whew, those AI summons that you can get, you know, because they're just as saucy as the orcs on harder difficulties, right? They can be crucial and critical to being able to beat a higher difficulty on a higher level run. And I'll come to learn that it's definitely worth it to beat it on a higher level run just because of the unlock it gives you, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Outside of the persistent and run specific skill points, you also have equipment, which upgrades core attacks, damage resistance, range damage, focused meter, as well as some unique one-time bonuses that's just tied to the gear, right? Like doing more damage when they're on fire or poisoned, or certain elementals, or an additional chance to stand up, right? All kinds of things. Along with also upgrading the drip, which is the most important. Alright, we've talked about skills, we've talked about gear, aka drip. The last piece of advancement that I'm going to cover is army management, which, as I alluded to earlier, is the most important for the higher difficulties. Prove me wrong. So stumbling into this, I thought it'd be wise to amass a little bit of money before starting to recruit some commanders to join my team. But see, I was still developing grooves in my brain. I mean, the thought process was wise, right? I wanted to not run into a wall when I find somebody that I wanted, but in reality, taking into account the Nemesis system, which means everybody has a strength or a weakness, all that you're looking for is for a commander that just has limited modes of damage. And this guy's a perfect candidate. Only two things can hurt him: damage by fire and damage by beast, with no mortal weaknesses associated with him. I look at the guy next to him, he's the same price, but he has a fear of Morgul flies. Why would I pick him over his brother over here, Jan? Because I could train you up to be tougher, unless you die, of course. So always prioritize damage resistance and damage types when recruiting. Price doesn't even matter. I'd rather recruit one for 1,000 that only has 2 forms of damage that he can take than one for 3,000 that might have 3 or 4, right? I prioritize how many forms of damage they're susceptible to. After you recruited a couple commanders, there's a few different things you can do with them, right? You can assign them as outpost commanders, right? So that when that outpost gets attacked, they will be there to defend it. I'll be honest, I felt like the time between activities with camps is a little long. I feel like it moves a little slower. Maybe I don't rest as much as I should. I don't know what it is. But the other thing that you can do is that you can assign these guys as bodyguards as well, right? And when you assign them as bodyguards, that allows you to summon them when you're fighting. And they'll walk around with you and pretty much just attack anybody who is aggressive towards you. Another big thing that I like about this game mode is that you're actually recruiting humans, right? I always like playing the human character. I want to play like it's me. Like I'm there and I'm pushing back the orc horde. Oh, take a stretch, guys. That was a lot of advancement material we just covered. Let's take a break and let our newly hired companions put in that work. As I've been saying throughout this video, these hired mercenaries are absolutely brutal, becoming exponentially so the higher difficulty that you play on, because then they're just getting all the development and buffs that the harder AI get on that difficulty. Okay, I know it's only been 10 minutes, but guys, this took me a couple days to get here. It is time for the conquest of Shindra, your first taste of sieging a castle, accompanied by the mercs whose coattails we sledded up to their doorstep.
So, you finally show your true colors. You take our gold, you lie to us, and now you show up at my gates to kill us. Men are such vile creatures. My boys will enjoy slaughtering the lot of you!
I don't think he likes us much.
He's about to like us a lot less.
I love those scenes. It reminds me of the Total War series, the older ones, when they used to give their motivational speeches. Anyway, I grappling hook up the walls. My confidence is through the roof, but as I'll quickly learn, this isn't like taking an outpost. I had no idea what this battering ram was. Can I attack it? How do I get rid of it so that my guys can get in? Or they at least stop taking damage? I think it's blowing fire through the door there, but I have no idea. Come to find out, there are some props that you can only manipulate prior to initiating the fight. So, lessons learned this one. Better luck next time.
Still time to back out if you're scared.
This fight or this family?
Alright, this time I did my homework and I set up every preliminary benefit that I could possibly get. So instead of having to hop the walls, me and my soldiers can use things like these oil barrels. Here are the capture points that I never got to last time and never knew how to even capture throughout all of the outposts that I took down. But once I figured out how to capture them, it's down on the D-pad, by the way. You won't accidentally summon another minion. Hit down on the D-pad. We just had a huge advantage with all the benefits that we had with the preliminary bonuses that you can set up for yourself by taking out some of the defending commanders. There's a cool little personal Circa skill that you can unlock where you target a bunch of different orcs and he shoots them all Matrix style, making you feel really epic. Making your way to the inner keep. This is really the boss fight to capture the castle, and here you will fight the war chief.
It's time to even the score. I'm going to tear off every limb you have before I kill you.
Well, that doesn't seem even. Even would be an arm for an arm. I got bored out there.
This guy's pretty tough, so be prepared for a war before ultimately just getting carried by your teammates like you have been the entire game.
Well, look, if there's going to be more battles, you'll need a title.
Conquering the castle is how you finish this hardcore mode. Overall, I had a good probably 15-20 hours on this mode. Really got me hyped for the game. I built some relationships with orcs when I didn't even think I would on this dungeon crawler type mode, and I absolutely love these two brothers, Circa and the guy with the shaved head. Baranor is his name. Moving on to the main story mode, I'll keep this short to close the loop on the review, just because I really don't want to give out any spoilers, and I truly think that everybody should play this game, especially if you can pick this game up on sale. So I'm just going to cover some of the differentiators and what stood out in the story campaign. First things first, attaining a gold trophy at the end of the hardcore mode unlocks this beautiful bald man as an avatar that you can put over the main character, Talion. Yep, that's Baranor. This allowed me to roleplay a little bit like I was somewhat continuing my campaign from the hardcore mode. It was also a hilariously welcome sight that I was still getting carried by my AI companions. So aside from the story campaign not being hardcore mode, the interrogation feature is definitely something distinct to the story mode. Use it mostly to get information on orc location and weaknesses so that you can kind of start plotting strategic moves or just start charting your own course forward. You're still seeing the Nemesis system rooted into this game's mechanic, but one of the differences here is that you can be that orc who dies and keeps coming back stronger and stronger, because now it's not hardcore mode and they don't end you, and when they kill you they actually remember it and they start talking smack to you about how they killed you, as you can see here with Takra, the newly appointed Tark Slayer.
I'm the Tark Slayer. That means I kill Tarks, and you're a Tark.
And I can't make this stuff up, guys. A companion AI literally got revenge on Takra the Tark Slayer for me. The story will continue to introduce you to memorable orcs throughout your campaign, and not long into the story, you'll get the opportunity to start recruiting these orcs. And I can't stress enough how personable these guys are. It's really cranked to 10 in the story campaign.
Bright Lord, Dark Lord, same thing really. It results me ripping spines out, which I like to do anyway, so either way's a win.
Another cool feature to the story campaign that's distinguishing is just having that longer campaign. If you just happen to miss a kill on one of these orcs, which feels awful, by the way, you know you're going to run into them in the future, and they're going to remember that you missed the kill, and now you got somebody who's evolved. And I'll tell you now, Nemesis mode in story mode is really where it shines, right? Just this guy right here, Borgu, the Grave Walker. First of all, he's called the Grave Walker. I'm the Grave Walker, and he has the audacity to call me the imposter. But the game develops these rivals that follow you throughout your campaign. Not only do they start different, but they evolve differently each time as well. This guy's a necromancer, right? So his name is very befitting of Gravewalker. I finally get the chance to finish this guy, and he gives me some sweet loot early on in my story campaign. A sword that lets me do extra damage to dazed captains, which, if you're taking advantage of weaknesses, dazed captains is really when you'll be doing the majority of your damage output. And you might have missed this just now in my ramble, like I did in my original playthrough, but Borgu just stood up like the Terminator from Death because he's a necromancer. So I mentioned plotting a little bit earlier, and just like how they can set traps up for you, you can set traps up for them. Just like you can have bodyguards, they can have bodyguards. And this is accomplished by recruiting them. This guy had me dead to rights with a unique trait, No Chance, that removes your recovery feature. But you can be mysteriously saved, and nothing is more mysterious than being saved by a tattooed orc with a banjo. What is that weapon? I'd be amiss if I didn't mention the movement and traversal in this game. I know Assassin's Creed has been done to death, but the fluidity in this game feels like none other that I've played. The grappling hook in hardcore mode was pretty fun, but it just feels better in story mode. I think it's because of the powers. In hardcore mode, you're a bounty hunter, which is fun, but in story mode, you're a Jedi. and in harmony with the movement. The environment is pretty impressive as well, because you have reasons to go up on ledges. It's not just stealth. Like, you want to set up traps and you want to use the environment so you can gain advantage. There is minimal online play. I took this one a little personally because Borgu has been haunting me my entire playthrough, so I'm hunting him interdimensionally. And that's pretty much what it is. You hop into someone else's instance game world to avenge them on an orc that took them out. They get a little pop-up that says they've been avenged, but it really isn't very gratifying. But what is gratifying is the Vendetta gear chest that you get from this, which gives you unique set gear that you can only get through these online vendettas, and orc traits that you can use to level up your companions. Orcs can also have blood brothers, like the interdimensional Borgu I just killed, who will hunt you down for revenge and set up ambushes. Here's another funny one for Booty Muncher. I mean, how do you pass that up? And then the final online component is online conquest, which once you conquer a fort in story mode, you can actually go and try and take other players' forts in like their worlds. It's all instance, AI only. It's kind of, you know, not truly multiplayer in my opinion. There's no interaction, and you don't even keep the fort. It's like a multiplayer light. It's more of a test your metal, but you do get gear and you get those cool chests. Army management is the same thing, except with orcs. You can still pay to add traits, just like with the mercenaries. The arena would probably be the biggest distinguishing feature in story mode, where you can either fight your own orcs together, AI orcs, or against other war chiefs in another multiplayer light activity. Taking over forts never gets old. The walk-up hype that I get is always there, from the first fort to the last fort. Your companion standing next to you, a unique war chief based on his nemesis roles, various biomes, and ever-evolving drill. In summary, this game's a solid 9 out of 10 in 2024. The pacing felt fair and gratifying. There wasn't any grind that I thought was exorbitant or excessive. And it was consistently worth it when I did do the grind, either by attaining sets or unlocking legendary traits. The investment, time-wise, again, grind felt fair and satisfying. Price-wise, no-brainer on a Steam sale day. But this is probably where I could nitpick and deduct half a point for a $50 standard list price on a 7-year-old game. The other half a point from 10 that I would deduct would be a combination of dated graphics and the laughable multiplayer activities that they have. And I know, 7-year-old game, what do you expect from the graphics? But I'm going to keep it 100. And I know, it's a single player game, what do you expect from multiplayer? But these activities just make me feel like I'm playing a mobile game. Like, just call it something else. But stability, 0 crashes, didn't have any bugs, the challenge was consistent but fair. The bosses can be very hard, and even the White Kings move like Jedis, kind of like how you move like Jedi, so it's pretty crazy. And then the expanded nemesis system for the orcs, chef's kiss. And all the progression paywalls I read about on release, they're not there today. So give it a shot, highly recommend. I'm looking forward to the next release. Please don't Half-Life us. Peace.